eating then. Um, this is something that has been the terminology, oh, I'm eating clean, or I guess it's kind of synonymous with I'm not eating junk anymore, um, is probably quite common phrasing, I suppose. What's your take on it? And I guess
Um,
how do you think it's beneficial or not?
so I find it problematic. Um, I think language really matters, and language often dictates not only someone's behavior, but how they feel about certain behaviors, which will then have a knock on effect on future behaviors. So, clean eating is about avoiding processed foods, uh, and it's used in a wide range depending on the person. But at its base level, it's like avoiding processed stuff, eating real food only. But how that is interpreted by different people really varies. So for some people, it might mean not eating like food that's come out of a packet, only eating like vegetables and meats. For some people, it might mean avoiding gluten or sugar or anything that has been man-made, um, which gets it gets more and more problematic the more, I guess, obsessed someone becomes with the concept, because it reduces you down to few foods really when you think about how many things are man-made now. Like, even if you think in terms of genetically modified food, everything we eat now has been genetically modified, um, because food science is how we make enough food for enough people. um, and I think this almost obsession with avoiding things that you see as bad or dirty not only impacts the food that you eat, which on the surface might sound like a really good thing, like I'm just eating healthy food. But once you start like cutting lots of things out, you increase the risk of like nutrient deficiency by missing things that you haven't really thought about. You increase the risk of something called orthorexia, which is an eating disorder where you're obsessed with eating healthy, and then this obsession becomes like quite dangerous. And it's similar to anorexia, but it's seen as almost less bad by the general public, I guess, because it's seen as like a pursuit of good. Um, but it still has the same dangers, although a lower death count than anorexia does. Um, and with this like desire to only eat things that you deem as clean, it means that there's this shame and guilt whenever you go off plan, I guess, whenever you do something that you deem as bad or unclean or unhealthy or junk. Like, these negative words about the food that you are eating, you almost feel them about yourself too. So then you are bad, you are dirty, you are unhealthy. And then I think that triggers other behaviors, which like becomes this spiral of unhelpfulness where you are impacting your social circles, your mental well-being, your physical health. And I think people don't realize how detrimental it can be, because it sounds like such a helpful thing, right? Oh, I'm just eating clean. I messed up my diet. I'm having a cheat day, but I'll be back on it tomorrow. Back to my clean eating diet. And you get stuck bouncing between like quite intense restriction and then massive overconsumption that you then feel really bad about. So you over restrict again. So I think it's quite unhelpful.
Yeah, I think that's a really really good summation actually, and I think this sort of orthorexia disorder is something that's only really become prevalent in the last, should we say, 5 years that I've heard about, and it doesn't mean to say that it wasn't there before, but it only seems to have been categorized with the rise of, I guess to a degree, with the rise of things like veganism and food awareness and like all these things that where you're constantly being pushed this is how you eat healthy. And I think so much of it is so targeted on like a lot of things in the fitness industry, like this way is the only way, rather than actually let's look at food as anything that gives us nutrition. So anything that we could digest, that gives us calories, that gives us some form of energy, and ideally a bunch of other good stuff like micronutrients. And let's think, right, okay, it's all just food. Like we can all process it. None of it's really good or bad in the sense of if I have a chocolate bar, it's not going to have a massive negative impact on my health unless all I'm eating is chocolate bars. And the same goes for like, I don't know, apples. Like it's not going to have a massive positive impact on my health just having one apple. If I eat all of the apples, it's probably going to have a negative impact on my health because I'm not eating anything else. So actually, like your everything in moderation kind of standard gets kind of ignored, where that's the best option, because it just like if you're gonna if you're restricting anything, unless there's a very good reason for it, like you're restricting gluten because you're celiac and it ruins your life when you eat gluten, like that's a valid reason to not eat it. If you're just doing it because you think it's going to help you, like you're going to lose weight because you're going gluten free, the reason is not because you're eating cleaner. It's just because you're eating less calories because you're not eating a bunch of foods that have got quite a lot of calories in. And I think you can do the same thing, but without restricting. And I think, like you said, that kind of, I'm not going to say the art of restricting, but like the kind of the effect that like cutting out all these like junk foods has, and they're probably things that you enjoy because most people enjoy a bit of junk food, is really taxing on your willpower. So you do end up in this like binge restrict cycle where you kind of go, oh, I'm going to eat clean for a week because I've had a bad week because probably you ate clean the week before, rather than just being like, okay, I'm going to eat some of everything. And then if I want to lose weight, I'm going to eat a bit less of everything. And actually kind of sometimes taking things out for a little while isn't always a bad thing, but understanding the why is important, and probably the most important. I think when you come to things like bodybuilding shows, I don't think anyone in this group is a bodybuilder, but if you see that, that's where we start to see loads of this sort of eating disorder come in, because it's basically a dieting competition, really. When it comes down to it, it's like, how lean can I get? And to get that lean, you have no choice but to restrict so much of your food that actually, and also the kind of the photos and after photos of a bodybuilding competition are kind of used as the pin-ups for fitness, which kind of pisses me off, to be honest, because it's like, this guy was like this lean for about 4 hours, and he had loads of tan and loads of Photoshop, and he probably felt absolutely horrendous. Yeah, that's kind of our ideal, and that kind of is stupid because it's not healthy at all. Unless you can maintain it and you feel good, and it's not like if you can maintain it fairly effortlessly and you feel good and you can do everything and you can concentrate, that's a marker in my book of actually like what's a good option for you. And I think, this is that kind of, the fitness industry perpetuates its own problems a lot of the time with that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important to remember that food is more than nutrition. Food is social. Food is cultural. Food is emotional. And if you over restrict things that are like either part of your culture or part of your social circles, it makes it harder to connect with humans. And that has a massive effect on your well-being, because humans are like pack animals. And if we are unable to have that community, we'll feel sad, even if we don't realize that's what's happening. So like if you can't go out for dinner with your mates or partner, or like you can't have the occasional drink sometimes at a party or whatever, like these things make it hard to have relationships, which is going to have a massive knock-on effect on your overall well-being. So then you have to decide what's more important for your personal happiness. And like, sure, that doesn't mean you have to go the other way and be drinking all of the time just because your people are drinking all of the time. but it might mean that sometimes you do want to have a drink with your people without feeling really bad about it, but also without making them feel really bad that they want to have a drink, because that shame travels in both directions and people don't like it. And
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think it's just I think it's about finding a balance, isn't it? That works. You know, and you do see it quite a lot. I've definitely had it before with clients where they've started training a lot more or eating a lot better, and when it comes to like being at work, for example, they might be the only one in the office that's actively trying that. And people are like, oh, why are you bothering to do this? Like, have a bit of cake or whatever. It's like, they don't want it. Like, that's fine. Just leave them to. I think that kind of peer, again, it's the whole peer pressure thing of like, it works both ways. It can be a real positive influence if the peer pressure is going in the right way for what you want, or it can be a really kind of willpower drainer if everyone's like, I have the cake, go on, have the cake, and you're like, fine, I'll have it. I mean, it's really hard if people are kind
it is really hard.
constantly like.
I think there's been research that showed that couples who diet together are more likely to succeed than if only one of the person in the couple was trying to diet and the other one wasn't. And that makes total sense.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah, but we see the exact opposite all the time because like generally speaking, men are bigger than women, right? And obviously, therefore, you need different portion sizes. But more often than not, both people will eat the same amount.
And that is very.
So what happens is obviously the guy stays the same weight, and the woman will kind of creep up to match that the same weight because obviously that's what happens. So having that, I think we discussed this on the other day on the live, was that having that kind of support network is massively important when it comes to like lifestyle habit change or whatever. Like if your environment supports your end aim, then your life's a lot easier straight away.
Yeah, for sure. You just have to find a balance that works with your particular life, because you're the only one that knows the answer to that. No one else can tell you.
True. Should we have a quick 5-10 minutes on cheat meals? Sure. Because they're just something else I think it's a term that gets fired around quite a lot, and it's a term that I don't particularly like, because it's just another one of those things that I don't think is really helpful. Like, I feel like if your diet is appropriate, why do you need to cheat? Like, it's not like it's a challenge, it's not like it's a game, I guess, where you have to cheat to win. It should just be something that you can do, and it should be fairly low energy if you get it right.
Yeah, for sure. I don't like it either. It comes back to language again for me. Like the idea that you could be cheating on your diet, it's again something that you have to feel bad about. But also it means like it's creating that separation of what you think is good and then what you think is bad, and how people respond or like enact their cheat meals kind of varies. So someone might plan a meal that is just higher calories than what they would normally eat as some kind of treat to look forward to. Other people might just have a day where they're like, well, I'm going to just eat whatever I want today, in which case often undoing the deficit that they'd created in the week anyway, but they're so hungry probably because their deficit was too big in the week that on that day that they're allowed to eat whatever they want, they're like, I'm going to eat all of the things.
I think you inevitably do, don't you? If you've got free reign, like you just eat whatever you want, and that's always going to be more than you think.
Especially if you're not allowed to eat those things the rest of the time, because humans, like, if someone tells you you can't do something, it's all you can think about. That's all you want to do. So then as soon as you have that opportunity to do that thing, you're like, I've just got to do all of it now before time runs out, before I'm not allowed to do it anymore. Whereas if you were allowed to eat those things all of the time, but the rule was that it had to be part of your overall calories, or like a fraction of your day, where most of your day is still cooked meals or whole grain foods or whatever, then it becomes less of like this exciting thing, because it's not a special occasion. It's just something that you do. So if you're someone who eats chocolate every day, you're going to be much better at just having as much chocolate as you actually want, rather than eating all of the chocolate. So you could have 2 or 3 pieces of chocolate and put it back in the fridge. Whereas if you're someone who tries not to eat chocolate, and chocolate is this bad thing that you shouldn't do, then when you get the chance to eat chocolate, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 bars, because when is this opportunity going to arise again? You've got to do it now while it's here, or you've got to eat it all while it's in the house, so you don't eat it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of actually like eliminating the need to feel like you need to cheat on your diet. Is actually like think about what you would eat if you could cheat, in inverted commas, and then just eat that, but small portions more regularly, and then you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. For most people, that shouldn't be that much of an issue. You know, alternatively, like if you want to have a pizza and that would be part of your cheat day, just factor it in, and then it's just part of your diet. It doesn't need to be something that's external to, you know, like it doesn't need to be something separate. It can just be part of what's normal. And it just, I think, just like making that shift, even though you might be eating pretty much the same thing, it just feels like you're almost allowed to just do it because it's normal, and then it just takes the kind of temptation away a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And if you know that on Saturdays you always cheat or mess up or whatever, you can account for that in your week, because your calories aren't like isolated to a day. Like 24 hours is a man-made concept. Your body doesn't really care. So if you take your calories for the week instead and you say on Saturday, I know I want to have a pizza. If you just took 50 or 100 calories away from Monday to Friday or Sunday to Friday, and then added those 250 or 500 calories or whatever to your Saturday, your calories for the week are the same. You get to enjoy your pizza on Saturday and not feel bad about it and not like undo anything, because you've not over restricted, because it was only 50 to 100 calories a day, which probably doesn't actually make that much difference to you unless you're a very tiny person. And you've created it like a little snack bonus amount over here. So then it's your week that matters. And I think that can eliminate this like circular stop start mentality, which will allow you to then make progress long term, because you're able to actually eat in a way that you can sustain and that fits with what your life is and who you are as a person.
Yeah, I think that's massively important. I think the ability to understand how to manipulate what you're eating, when and why is kind of fundamental to actually being able to maintain your weight in the first place. Like, yeah, whether that be, and also it's going to depend on your goals, right? So this is all in the kind of context of, let's say, maintenance for now. But you know, if you know you're going to have a big weekend, if you're someone that has regular big weekends, like most people probably do, if you take into a week, it's a lot easier probably to be quite good in the week until you want to go out. So you can take the option that Penny said, which is, you know, a really good option if you want to do that and eat a bit less every day to give you this like buffer at the weekend. You know, you can say, right, okay, I'm only going to eat in the evening, so I save the calories from the day. You know, you could pick a day to fast if you wanted, or you could just not do the thing and actually even out over the week. All of those things end up in the same like end of week result, where you are eating the amount of calories that you need. It just comes down to like your personal preference as to what works best for you. And even further than that, like on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, I think it's even more, you know, the further ahead you look, the more you realize actually your one meal has less of an impact. Because yeah, if you wanted to break it down, like let's say you took a yearly amount, if you had like 5 bad weeks or whatever, you've got another 40 weeks to make up for that. And that's probably a kind of a realistic timescale. If you're not got a competition or anything like that, you're just trying to maintain, this fluctuation's fine as long as it doesn't keep creeping slowly up, which is something you can keep an eye on, you know, relatively easily if you have a good understanding of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand your why, but also if you can eliminate this idea of being on the wagon and falling off the wagon, or eating clean and cheating, or whatever combination of that concept in words you want to use, it means that whatever you do is still part of your day, And if you do eat something that takes you over what the plan was for the day, you don't let that trigger an emotional response in you that either results in you overeating continuously for longer because you've messed up now anyway, or triggers a response in you that means I am not going to eat tomorrow to compensate, because both of those things are unhelpful. With one, you're dragging your calories over and over further, so you're making it harder for yourself to just get on with what you were doing. And then with the other one, where you're over restricting as some kind of punishment, you're firstly going to feel really shit about that, but then secondly, you're going to make it more likely that you're going to end up overeating again the next time you do get to eat, because you're going to be so hungry. So you're going to get yourself trapped bouncing between it. Whereas if you can be like, oh, I had a bit more pizza today than I meant to, that's today, and then stop and carry on as normal, you'll find that extra couple of slices of pizza have made no difference to your life whatsoever. And I think getting better at that is the key to making this last forever.
Yeah, I think again, it just comes down to your ability to, like, one, accept your choices, and two, kind of adapt to them. Like, if you do decide you're going to eat, I don't know, 12 Krispy Kremes one day, right? Okay, not ideal, but you've done it. Also, not going to kill you, so don't worry about it. But you can just think about the effect that's had across the course of the next month. For example, let's take it a bit further. Like the next month or 2 months is probably negligible if you kind of, again, if you don't do it every week. Even because you could have spaced those out, right? You could have had one donut a day for 12 days, and that probably would have been fine if it was within the scope of what you can eat, what your kind of calorie allowance is. That would be absolutely fine. So in reality, that impact is going to be spread out, provided you're not constantly doing that thing. And I think that's the key. Is sort of, you've just got to understand what you're eating and the impact it's going to have on you before you can actually make any positive changes, really. Otherwise, you just end up doing stuff and being told it's bad, and then kind of reacting kind of just instinctively, which is normally, I need to train loads to burn that off, or I need to just eat leaves tomorrow to make sure that I don't, rather than, if you understand it, you probably would think about it twice in the first instance and say, right, maybe eating all of these is not the best idea right now. Maybe I'll just buy one or two rather than buying a box of 12. And then, you probably find that just naturally regulates itself a bit better.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to practice, use of language, and then probably just being nicer to yourself and education. Yeah. Those are the four most important things, I would say, when it comes to managing your diet.
Or just anything, I think, really.
Or anything, yeah. Those are basically the rules for everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why we're doing these videos, really, isn't it? To just try and help people realise that, and hopefully either do their own research and act on it, or just ask. Because,
and people who ask for help are always the most likely to succeed at whatever it is they're trying to do, because that's how humans learn, and that's how we've made progress throughout the ages, by using information that other people have already collected, so we don't have to start from scratch all the time. So if you don't know something, just ask someone who does, and if that's
a lot easier,
or ask someone else, just ask someone. But make sure you ask someone who actually knows the answer, or someone who will be honest with you if they don't know the answer, and then point you towards someone who does.
Yeah, I think it's never a bad idea to ask several people, and if you get a kind of a census of answers that all are the same, and make sure you ask people from different backgrounds. Don't ask a bunch of vegans what the best diet is, because they'll just tell you it's vegan, even if you don't agree with that. Ask loads of people, and they'll give you kind of a balanced view then probably. But yeah, I think that's basically it. It's just if you're stuck, ask, try and learn about and understand what you need to do basically to kind of maintain your kind of diet in a way that works for you, rather than having to kind of binge restrict all the time or kind of cut stuff out left, right, and centre. It just doesn't really last very long or work very well for most people.
Correct.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that was a good chat, actually.
Good. I will end it there. As I said before, if anyone has any questions and they're watching bits of this later, please comment below and I'll be able to get back to you with relevant answers as soon as I see those comments. Otherwise, have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, and I will see you on Wednesday for my usual Q&A on this group. So I'll see you later.